Welcome to a new video and a new camera comparison, the Xperia 1 Mark V versus the Vivo X100 Pro. We have Zeiss versus Zeiss, so let's get started. Here we can see those cameras and the specs of those. Even though the Vivo has 4 camera holes, it only has 3 cameras, where the Sony Xperia also has only 3 cameras. You can see how big this camera bump on the Vivo is. We have a triple 50 megapixel setup on the Vivo, and we have two 12 megapixel setup and a 148 megapixel that's a bit cropped in on the Xperia. And then on the front we also have some nice front shooters, and I think we start off with the front facing videos. Selfie video, Xperia 1 Mark V, 4K 30 up to 4K 60 even, and S Cinetone active. Again, internal mics because it's a bit of windy. What do you think about the Xperia 1 Mark V? Front facing video, Vivo X100 Pro. Bit of windy, no external mic, so excuse my voice. What do you think about this video here? Steady face, by the way, also on, so it should be pretty stabilized. What do you think about this? 1080p only though. Sony Xperia 1 Mark V, 4K 30 frames per second recording, and I also have the possibility with this not 1-inch type sensor, but pretty large kind of sensor, 1.3-inch type sensor, to get nice background blur, good stabilization, and I think also HDR should work fine. To go to the ultra wide angle at 4K, so just have to press a button there, and I'm at the ultra wide angle. This is even narrower with 16 millimeters only, but still I think a very good ultra wide angle. And let's take a look at the zoom. So there we have the towers there in the background, 85 millimeters, and then we have 125, which is still optical, and then we can zoom even more. This is now 375 millimeters. What do you think about this one? I think that the zoom is lacking, and so this is the Vivo X100 Pro with its 1-inch size sensor, 4K 30 frames per second recording, and during recording I also have of course the possibility to go to the ultra wide angle just by pressing a button, and now I'm at the ultra wide angle, 50 millimeters, not so wide but still okay, I would say. Internal mic still, and if I want to zoom in on something, let's zoom in on those two chimneys, not towers, chimneys they're called. Of course, 2.2 times, 4.3 times, and then I can zoom in 10 times on one of those here. And what do you think about the quality? Let's compare the front-facing videos. What we can see here on the Vivo X100 Pro, it's only 1080p, but good 1080p. We have more punchy colors on the X100 Pro. We have the S Cinetone active on the Xperia 1 Mark V. This is why it's a little bit softer looking there and not so contrasty, the look. I actually prefer this look, but here you don't even notice on the Xperia 1 Mark V that it's 4K. Look at this here, and the sharpness on my face on the X100 Pro and the Xperia. It's very, very soft. The only thing that the Xperia has going is when, let me mute this quickly, is when you play it back, that the stabilization is a lot better on the Xperia in comparison to the X100 Pro, where you can see every step is like boom, boom, micro kind of stutter, where here it is very, very smooth, like gimbal-like on the 1 Mark V. So this is the big difference here. Overall, which one is the winner? I think I give it slightly to the X100 Pro there for the selfie video. Let's check out the main camera videos, and what we can see here on the main cameras is much more contrasty, much more vibrant looking colors on the X100 Pro. With Xperia 1 Mark V has this S Cinetone, which I really, really like because it's very cinematic. It's not so sharpened up. Look at the X100 Pro that has like every little hair and details sharpened up on my face. Nice background blur for sure. And look at the Xperia 1 Mark V. It's a bit softer on the face, and it is now your preference, which one you like. The bokeh is okay, it's not so as strong as on the X100 Pro, and when you let it run on both, it's a bit stuttery probably with the screen recording, but what you will notice is both are good with the main kind of sensor. Better HDR definitely on the X100 Pro. And when we go to the ultra wide angle, let's go wait a second, there we go, ultra wide angle now. Look at the Xperia 1 Mark V and the ultra wide angle switch. It's quite smooth, yeah. I had to press a button, but it's okay. And now at the X100 Pro, it's smoother on the X100 Pro. We look at the detail levels and HDR. I think the X100 Pro is worse in terms of HDR. Look at this part here, which is totally yellow, where here on the 1 Mark 5, yes, I'm a little bit underexposed there, but this one is bluish there. This part there, so this is quite interesting. So this is like too yellowish and too punchy, the colors on the X100 Pro in general, I think, which I prefer the 1 Mark 5 a little better, but it could be that you like it differently. When it comes to zoom lens, however, let's check out the zoom. Of course, we have a different kind of zoom there. And now let's go to this zoom, and what we can see here is a bit more sharpening things on the X100 Pro. But when we come to the maximum zoom here basically and compare it with the, yes, you can get a bit closer with the Xperia, it's definitely a little bit more contrasty, a bit more detailed. Look at the trees there, for example, on the X100 Pro, compare it with this mushy on the Xperia 1 Mark 5. So yes, the zoom is definitely a win for the X100 Pro, even if you cannot zoom in a little bit more. So that's it in terms of videos. Here are the photos. On the left always the Vivo X100 Pro, on the right always the Xperia 1 Mark 5. What we can see here is, on first glance, it looks a bit contrasty, because on the Vivo X100 Pro I was using the textured color profile, but I changed to the Zeiss color profile, as you can see, much closer to the Xperia 1 Mark 5, because it's a more natural one. But still, you can see on second glance that we have a bit more contrasty look on the X100 Pro. The Xperia 1 Mark 5, less contrasty and less punchy look. Look at the green grass, for example. It's a little bit more muted on the 1 Mark 5 in comparison to the X100 Pro. And when we take a look at the sharpness and details, you can clearly see that there is a difference in the main camera. And the 1-inch sensor on the Vivo X100 Pro gets you a little bit more details than the Xperia 1 Mark 5's 1/1.3-inch type sensor. Also, the detail levels around the image, here my daughter is agreeing with me, around the image is a bit sharper there. When we come to the ultra-wide angle, what we can first see, besides very similar colors but a little bit warmer look on the 1 Mark 5, that we have an overexposure on the 1 Mark 5 here in the sky, where the X100 Pro keeps it more HDR style, yeah, in there. There's a little bit of overexposure here, but the rest of this is pretty much nicely exposed. So this is one advantage that we have there. We also have 15 millimeters, so it's a bit a wider field of view on the X100 Pro than the Xperia 1 Mark 5. But when it comes to detail levels and so on, let's take a look at here. You can see that the Xperia maybe a little bit more sharpening, but it is sharper than the X100 Pro. That's a bit soft. Look at this bush here and compare it with here. You can see it's a bit softer. Also, when you come towards the edges, you can see how soft the whole X100 Pro is. And let's compare the Xperia 1 Mark 5. You can see the Xperia 1 Mark 5 is a little bit sharper there towards the edges. So this is one of the biggest differences there. Then we are testing out the zoom lenses. The X100 Pro has an optical 4.3 times zoom. The Xperia 1 Mark 5 has a 3.5 to 5.2 times zoom. So logically, I'm also testing it out because a variable zoom on the Xperia 1 Mark 5 at 4.3 times. So we get a similar field of view. What we can see here again is a bit more contrasty look on the X100 Pro, where the Xperia 1 Mark 5 is a little bit less contrasty. In terms of details, the contrast is not the only thing that gives it more detail. Look at the wood there, and you will see that there's much more detail on the X100 Pro. So the optical performance of this 4.3 times is much better than the one on the variable aperture of the Xperia 1 Mark 5. Color-wise, like I said, very, very similar. Look at the blues there, compared with the blues there. It's a bit brighter on the 1 Mark 5. And there's another shot with the main camera sensor to test out HDR. You can see the sun is setting there in the background. You can see Interestingly enough, the Xperia 1 Mark 5 is brightening up the foreground, like the green grass here, a little bit more, has a slight overexposure here in the background, where the Vivo X100 Pro keeps the background completely nicely exposed, but also underexposes, I think, on the green grass a little bit. This is why we have like some details on this tree, which is like almost completely lost here in blackness on the X100 Pro. Which one would you prefer? On the X100 Pro, you can also go into vivid mode. That is brightening things up a little bit here on the green grass, but it's also punching the colors a lot. As you can see here, we get unnatural kind of blue colors, but also HDR with the highlights at least seems to be a little bit better exposed. Here another test with those here, the main camera sensors, where you can see very close together, but a little bit more better HDR here on the X100 Pro thanks to the 1-inch type sensor. I think detail levels very, very similar. Also when you go towards the edges, you can see maybe a bit of more sharpness there on the X100 Pro, but not much of a difference. Again, 4.3 times versus 4.3 times against the sun. HDR better on the X100 Pro. My daughter's laughing now, playing. And yeah, the 1 Mark 5 is doing also a nice job, but when it comes to detail levels, you can see how much noise there's creeping in, how much yellow this looks like. Where here it's a bit more bluish, and it's also noise there. It's denoising heavily on the X100 Pro, but it has good denoising going on. So which one would you prefer? Also took another one that is like without, the sun was still there, but it's like turning it a little bit and you can get a completely different kind of photo, and there you can read stuff. It's also a little bit noisy still, and I think from the detail level here, very, very much on par. It's hard to tell the difference there between those two there in terms of detail level. It's just like, it seems a bit softer on the 1 Mark 5. Ultra wide angle versus ultra wide angle. For some reason, the Vivo decided, despite having Zeiss color mode active, to punch the colors to oblivion, where the Xperia 1 Mark 5 keeps it more real. And when it comes to detail levels, you can see Xperia is not doing so well, but the X100 Pro is even worse in this regard with the details and with the sharpening, where yeah, it is a bit sharper on the Xperia 1 Mark 5, and I don't think it's just unnatural kind of added sharpness. It's just simply sharper because of the lens being sharper there. Look at the building there, look at the sides, getting very soft on the X100 Pro, where the Xperia is also getting a bit softer than in the middle, but it's definitely sharper. And yeah, also this side here, not very good in the Xperia, also getting soft, but not that soft as the X100 Pro. So I would even guess in this regard the 1 Mark 5 in daylight gets you a little bit of better shots than the X100 Pro, which is interesting. 4.3 versus 4.3 times. How do they handle closer subjects and objects? And can we read text? Red text optimization, HDR working fine on both, as you can see. As oh my, yeah, she also doesn't like this cloudy kind of day. And we are looking at the text. You can see it's a bit wishy-washy on the X100 Pro, where the Xperia 1 Mark 5 is sharpening things up a lot there. As you can see, there's this white outline around the text, and we see a little bit more detail. So it's like smoothing things out as well there. On the X100 Pro, we see a little bit more details on the Xperia 1 Mark 5. Yeah, it's a bit noisy for sure, but also, as you can see, a little bit detailed, more detailed. Interesting. Portraits, however, very interesting as well. As you can see here, more contrasty look on the X100 Pro. You can see there's a background, a bit more contrast. The Xperia 1 Mark 5 looks more realistic, actually. My face color, also my eye colors look very realistic. But as soon as I zoom in, you can see, oof, very noisy, grainy, lots of pixels that you can see. And not so much on the X100 Pro. It's a bit softer for sure, yeah. And a bit more yellowish, warmer kind of colors. The eye color is a bit too dark, a tad too dark, because I have bluish, grayish eyes, and not this like darkish kind of eyes that you see on the X100 Pro. But many smartphones do this. They raise the contrast a bit to get more sharpness. But this is like, yeah, night and day difference, where the Xperia 1 Mark 5 on first glance looks okay, but as soon as you zoom in, you're like, oh, better not. And then 5.2 versus 100 millimeters. So 5.2 is like 105 millimeters, I think. So slight difference there again. This very contrasty kind of look on the X100 Pro. Xperia 1 Mark 5. Better with the colors, but look at the pixels, at the detail that is really lost. I'm not sure, did it even use this telezoom camera? I set it to telezoom camera, so I guess it used it, but it's really, really bad looking there. So this is the portraits that you can see here right now. So which one would you prefer? I think the main camera sensor is a bit better on the X100 Pro. The ultra wide angle is pretty close on the 1 Mark V and the X100 Pro. I would even give the 1 Mark V a slight edge at daylight at least. And the zoom is a win for the X100 Pro, even though the Xperia is not so far off and sometimes can pull out something pretty good. But yeah, it is noisier definitely for portraits. As long as you don't zoom in, the Xperia 1 Mark V looks more natural, the X100 Pro more optimized. Yeah, it's a matter of preference there, but as soon as you have to crop in or something like this, definitely get the X100 Pro, which is like optically simply better. Not nighttime, but still a very low light situation. It's raining all the time since the new year, so yeah, have to just do it in this low light, dimly lit situation. I'm recording with the Vivo X100 Pro and its main camera sensor. What do you think about this one here? I'm walking towards a little light. I think it should be still okay in terms of 1-inch type sensor. It should be able to handle this light perfectly. So what do you think about this one here? Xperia 1 Mark V, low light situation, internal mics. What do you think about this one here? Also same conditions basically. It's a bit of rainy right now. I'm walking towards the light and it's not a 1-inch type sensor, but the light intake capabilities are equal to this 1-inch type sensor, so it shouldn't be any issue with this as well. What do you think about the quality here at the low light situation? Nighttime photos. This is a dim lit situation, but we can see already a few things. First of all, a little bit brighter exposure on the X100 Pro with the main camera sensor. Xperia 1 Mark V a little bit darker. Then we see better HDR. Look at this light there and compare it with the Xperia 1 Mark V that has it overblown there. Look at the detail levels then there in the background. Look at the tree there and this tree here, much more detailed, much clearer on the X100 Pro. And here is it where the X100 Pro shows its potential with its 1-inch type sensor and how good it really can be. And this is something that you can see all over the place, also especially in very dark conditions. Here I couldn't see the welcome sign. The only thing that I saw is this green light and the light here to turn on the light. And yeah, you can see how greenish looking it is on the X100 Pro and how bluish kind of looking on the Xperia 1 Mark V it is. But the 1 Mark V has tons of noise already, and if I zoom in, you can see it doesn't look very pleasant there, where the X100 Pro is pretty clean. It is, however, when you take a second look at the X100 Pro, it's optimized as hell. Like they have algorithms that run and smooth everything out. So yes, HDR is handled better, and in this kind of nighttime to daylight, the X100 Pro is better than the 1 Mark V. The star, interestingly enough, I like the Xperia 1 Mark V a little bit better because it gives it a bit of a warm kind of feeling here that the star actually for Christmas as Christmas light definitely got, where the X100 Pro is a bit coolish kind of looking and also not always 100% sharp, but the Xperia 1 Mark V the same, so they struggle a little bit there. And yeah, a little bit more contrast helps here with the sharpness and the detail levels, so it's quite close there, but I like the colors on the Xperia a little bit better. So the Xperia is not a total disaster here, but it is something where I would say the X100 Pro is losing a little bit. Here, however, this is a clear win for the X100 Pro. Look at the detail level, look at the clarity, especially the cars there, and compare it with the Xperia 1 Mark V. We have a bit of greenish, yellowish tint on the 1 Mark V, and yeah, this is combined with this little bit a less sharper picture, overexposure there. The 1 Mark V is definitely losing against the X100 Pro when it comes to nighttime, especially also with the zoom lens. This is now a 4.3 versus 4.3 times zoom, as you can see. You can see that there's a water tower, the X100 Pro, and nothing besides this light, and there's a light on the 1 Mark V. So yeah, a huge difference there. Ultra wide angle also shows its power and true potential on the X100 Pro. It's a bit both greenish, yellowish, but it's like bluish, magenta-ish kind of tone on the Xperia 1 Mark V, and overexposed, as you can see there. So yeah, it is not very good on the X100 Pro, but the Xperia 1 Mark V manages to be even worse there in this regard. So this is why then in the end you will see that the X100 Pro gets a little bit higher score there, because it's like with this flexibility also in low light, the ultra wide angle gives you better results, even though in daylight the 1 Mark V is beating the X100 Pro in that regard. So, but in total score, the more consistency you have with the X100 Pro there for sure. And this is another zoom test here, where the only thing that the Xperia has going for it, it's a bit darker exposed, is the color. You look at this magenta kind of color and compare it with the more reddish kind of color that we have on the X100 Pro. So yeah, this one is more accurate actually on the Xperia, but they're not so far off, as you can see here. Yes, a bit brighter on the X100 Pro, but the 1 Mark V is not so far off there. And yeah, also here both like having issues to show this license plate, but this is also the computational photography and the best example for it, where the X100 Pro tries to optimize stuff but cannot really optimize. The Xperia 1 Mark V is just denoising a little bit, and you can read here 1985 or something like this, as, or 1885 as number, which is like completely lost on the X100 Pro. So yes, they have it has some advantages and disadvantages to have this highly computational photography stuff going on. Selfie is pretty much very close, I have to say, where the Xperia 1 Mark V does a little flash, where the Vivo X100 Pro has the display on all the time. And yeah, when we take a look at the eye colors again, you can clearly see better on the 1 Mark V, just simply more natural. The eye color, the skin color also a little bit better. And detail level, not so far off. Yeah, it's just 12 megapixels versus like this 32 megapixel, but it looks like a little bit artificial on the X100 Pro. What do you think? Which one is better? As selfie, I have to say the selfie is a bit sharper on the X100 Pro for sure. It's a bit artificial looking. I don't know which one would I give the win here in terms of selfies. It's like both pretty good. I like the Xperia, when I zoom out, the Xperia a bit better because the eye colors and the face color is a bit better, and it's looking a bit weird on the X100 Pro. And that's it in terms of night photos. Which one would you prefer? It's definitely showing the advantage of the 1-inch sensor, also the advantage of the ultra wide angle, which is quite interesting, and the zoom definitely as well on the X100 Pro. So Xperia 1 Mark V in nighttime is clearly losing against the Vivo X100 Pro. Let's come to the conclusion, and spoiler alert, TLDR, the Xperia 1 Mark V gets 4.375 points, where the Vivo X100 Pro gets 4.435 points, so it's a clear win for the X100 Pro. But is it actually a huge win? Actually, there's a good win with the main camera photo quality, because the 1-inch type sensor is working a little bit better than the Xperia's 1 Mark V sensor, even though Xperia 1 Mark V sensor is not very bad, but I think the processing and everything can be a little bit optimized. So I think they're using the same as the P60 Pro is using as its zoom lens or something like that. They're using as the main camera sensor here with a new dual layer stacked sensor there. The 1 Mark V could be a little bit better there, I think. So 4.6 points would be definitely possible with the sensor, but sadly it is not there. So we have a huge difference. Main camera photo quality is not so noisy so quickly in dark or low light or dim light situations, and is a little bit better there also in terms of colors, I would say. However, the Xperia is very natural in terms of colors. Even the Zeiss color on the X100 Pro is not coming close to the Xperia 1 Mark V's natural colors. Ultra wide angle is quite surprising because yeah, in general the X100 Pro is winning slightly there against the Xperia. It's just a slight win because it's consistent. So if you're using it in dim lit situations or you're using it in daylight situations, you get an okayish kind of photo. On the Xperia 1 Mark V in daylight, it's beating even the X100 Pro, but as soon as it becomes a little more dim lit, you have a magenta, bluish kind of hue, and you have noise, and you have loss of detail, you have problems with HDR, which at daylight it's even beating sometimes the ultra wide on the X100 Pro, especially in video, for example. But this is another point there. In general, the ultra wide angle is a little bit worse on the Xperia 1 Mark V than on the X100 Pro. Daylight, also HDR, most of the time the X100 Pro is winning there against the Xperia. Zoom camera photo quality, the Vivo has one of the best zoom camera photos on the market currently, 4.5 points. The Xperia 1 Mark V, after my re-evaluation, still has the solid 4.1 points. It is keeping up there, but portraits, if I don't zoom in terms of portraits, I like the colors on the Xperia 1 Mark V a bit better, actually, to be completely honest, but the detail level is just simply lacking. It's simply too noisy, too quickly. I think they would benefit a lot with a larger zoom sensor there on the Xperia 1 Mark V, and maybe they will do it with the Xperia 1 Mark VI. We will see. Video recording quality, however, I would put on par in this case. I like the Xperia 1 Mark V's capabilities to to use the S-Cinetone, which by default looks a little bit better than the little bit goofy and too punchy kind of looking X100 Pro, as at least if you have it side by side. Otherwise, the X100 Pro is very solid in terms of video, and the X100 Pro is yeah, pretty good there in terms of video, but the 1 Mark V is keeping up, especially with stabilization, which I like a tad better on the 1 Mark V. Ultra wide angle, for example, jumps me a little bit in the corners on the X100 Pro that I don't have on the 1 Mark V. The HDR of the ultra wide angle is better on the 1 Mark V. Zoom is definitely better on the X100 Pro. That's a given there for sure. But also switching lenses is a bit more smooth on the X100 Pro, but the 1 Mark V is not so far off. This is why I give them equal score here in terms of video. You can write down in the comments if you have a different opinion, and tell me why exactly you think the video is better, so much better on the X100 Pro that it doesn't deserve to share the points with the 1 Mark V. Autofocus performance is better on the 1 Mark V. Sometimes I have, like when I'm filming smartphones, for example, show the front displays off, I want to show the front camera. The X100 Pro sometimes hunts and it's like showing my mirrored image there, focusing on this instead of the camera, and I never had this issue with the 1 Mark V. Super solid. I'm not sure what kind of technology they use, probably the same that they use in their DSLMs. Very solid autofocus performance, better on the 1 Mark V. Now with the Android 14 update also for the zoom lens, it's also doing a pretty good job in terms of focusing. Front-facing camera, it's very interesting because here I rated the Xperia 1 Mark V a little bit, a lot better, that is 0.2 points better than the Vivo X100 Pro. Why is that the case? I think I have to change this for the X100 Pro at 1 point, probably at 4.2 points, because it's just the colors there. For photos, for static photos, you will see that the Xperia 1 Mark V, usually especially in daylights, has a little bit better looking faces there. The X100 Pro is a bit, even if you turn off all the optimizations for face, for beautification, a bit more artificial looking and a bit waxy looking. This is not like the same kind of level that Huawei has, for example, where Huawei, I would say, it's still manageable, it's still looking natural, at least in my opinion. The X100 Pro is overdoing it. It's like over the edge already for this like waxiness. This is why I'm only giving it 4.1 points here, and the Xperia 1 Mark V 4.3 points. But you can tell me in the comments if I'm right with this one or not. Camera UI, this is very close, but the 1 Mark V, especially now with the Android 14 update, it has a super smooth and fast navigation around there, and also a little bit more optimized for one-handed navigation. This is why I'm giving it a little bit more points here on the 1 Mark V, but they're very close together. Extra features, the 1 Mark V has more. We have this self-logging monitor. We have the possibility to attach cameras to it, record stuff with it. So in terms of this kind of things, micro SD card slot, the microphone that you can attach with 3.5 millimeter headphone jack, such things are giving the Xperia a big advantage over the Vivo X100 Pro that doesn't have those kind of features. We have focus speaking on both actually, which is quite nice, and audio meters and audio levels that you can set up, I think, only on the Xperia, where the Vivo has different color profiles that you can set up. The Xperia has this as well. It's a bit easier accessible, I think, on the Vivo. And Vivo has this cinematic kind of video mode, which I also like, where the Xperia 1 Mark V has just like a Cinema Pro, where you can punch in those things manually, and yeah, a little bit more flexible there in this case as well. In the end, we have a clear winner. That's the Vivo X100 Pro, because the main camera photo quality, the ultra wide angle, and especially the zoom quality of the tele camera are just simply better there on the X100 Pro, so much better than. This is the clear Zeiss winner. However, in terms of colors, I like the 1 Mark V even more. Look at this. This is the final score. You can see the Vivo X100 Pro sits there on top with the Huawei Mate 60 Pro with the same kind of points, and the 1 Mark V looks here, you can see in between the P50 Pro and the Mate 50 Pro, so it's a few points down below there, but it's still keeping up with stuff, even like beating the Mate 50 Pro, the Magic 5 Pro, which is quite interesting on this side, also winning against the Galaxy S23 Ultra, which does simply worse with its main camera. And ultra wide angle, it's outstanding with the zoom quality, but nevertheless, yeah, that's it. So this is it for this video. Hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for watching. Until the next time, bye.